If you have never worked a night shift, you think the worst part is being tired. It isn't. The worst part is that around 3 a.m, the world stops behaving the way it is supposed to. Doors that were locked are open. Hallways that were empty are not. And a building you have walked through 1,000 times starts to feel like it is watching you back. These are 3 stories from people who worked nights and who quit because of what happened. Turn your lights down. Let's begin. Story 1. The Patient in 412. Ellis worked geriatric care on the 3rd floor of a regional hospital, 11 at night until 7 in the morning. 4 nurses for 32 beds, and after 2 a.m., usually just her and the hum of the vending machine. Room 412 held a man named Mr. Ward, 81 years old. Hospice. He had not spoken a word in 4 months. He did not move on his own. He did not need to. Machines did his breathing arithmetic for him, and the family had already said their goodbyes twice. On Ellis's 9th night, the call button from 412 lit up at 3:14 in the morning. She walked down and found Mr. Ward asleep. The call button was on its cord, hooked on the rail across the room, a good 4 feet from his hand. She put it back where it belonged and marked it as a fault in the log. The next night, 3:14, 412. Same light, same empty reason. By the end of that week, she had stopped hurrying. She would look up from the desk when the light came on, note the time, finish her charting, and walk down at her own pace. Maintenance swapped the unit twice. New wiring, new button. 3:14. Every night, without fail. Then, on a Thursday, she walked into 412, and Mr. Ward was sitting up. Not propped, sitting. Upright, spine straight, both arms at his sides, staring at the corner of the room where the wall met the ceiling. A man who had not lifted his own head since spring. Ellis said his name. He did not look at her. He raised one hand, slowly, and pointed at that corner. And then he spoke. Dry, cracked, but clear. He said, "She's still counting." Then he lay back down, closed his eyes, and did not move again. Ellis wrote it up. The attending told her that terminal patients sometimes have what's called rallying, a brief return of function before the end. It has a name. It has a chart code. That was supposed to be comforting. That same night, at 3:14, a patient in room 408 died. Unrelated. Cardiac. Nobody was surprised. The next night, 3:14, room 405, then 401. 3 deaths in 3 nights, all at the same minute, all in rooms whose numbers were walking backward down the hall, toward the nurse's station where Ellis sat. She started counting the doors between herself and the last one. On the 4th night, she was alone at the desk. The other 2 nurses were downstairs on a transfer. 3:13. She had her eyes on the clock, and she was not breathing much. At 3:14, every call light on the hallway came on at once. 32 rooms. 32 little red lamps over 32 doors, all the way down, lighting the corridor like a runway. And then, they began going out, one at a time, from the far end, coming toward her. And somewhere in that hallway, under the sound of her own pulse, Ellis heard a woman's voice counting down. 29, 28, 27. Steady, patient, close. She did not wait to hear the low numbers. She went down the stairwell without touching the rail, and she did not stop until she was in the parking lot with her hands on her knees. When security walked the floor 12 minutes later, every light was off, and every single door on that hallway was standing wide open. Mr. Ward died that night. Time of death, 3:14 a.m. Ellis finished out her notice on days. She still works in medicine. She will not work nights, and she will not tell you what she thinks the voice was counting. Story 2. Pump 6. Des took the overnight job at a gas station on a rural highway because it paid $2 more an hour than anything in town, and because nothing ever happened out there. 10 at night to 6 in the morning. Maybe 9 customers a shift, most of them truckers who wanted coffee and no conversation. The clerk he replaced trained him in about 20 minutes. Register, coffee machine, mop closet. Then at the door, she turned around and gave him 3 rules like she was reading a grocery list. Lock the front door after 2 a.m. and serve people through the night window. Do not go into the walk-in cooler if the light is already on, and never, under any circumstance, turn on the lights at pump 6. Des asked what was wrong with pump 6. She said it had been out of service for years. That was the entire answer she gave him. And then she got in her car and left, and he never saw her again. Pump 6 sat at the far edge of the lot, past the air machine where the asphalt went bad. The pump housing was there, but the screen was dead and the hose had been cut off. Above it, on its own pole, was a floodlight with its own switch on the breaker panel behind the register. Somebody had put masking tape over that switch and written one word on it in marker. Don't. For 6 weeks, nothing. Then on a Tuesday in October, at 2:40 in the morning, a car pulled into the lot and parked at pump 6. Headlights on, engine off, and a person got out and stood beside the driver's door. Des waited for them to come to the window. They didn't. They stood there, facing the store, not moving. He watched for 10 minutes, then 20. Then he got busy with the coffee filters, and when he looked up at 3:30, they were still standing there, in exactly the same place. He pulled up the security feed. 16 cameras. 15 of them, clean. The camera pointed at pump 6 was static. Pure snow. He checked the wiring. He checked the recorder. That one channel had been broadcasting static for as long as the machine had records. At 4:10, the headlights went off. When Des looked again, the car was gone, and he had not heard an engine. It happened the next night, and the next. Always 2:40. Always the same silhouette. And the thing that made his hands shake was not that it came back. It was that every night, the figure was standing a little closer to the store. Not by much. A few feet. Enough that after 3 weeks, he was standing at the edge of the curb, 12 feet from the glass. Under the register, there was a spiral notebook that clerks had been using since the 90s, mostly for shift change notes. Des went through it. Scattered through 10 years of handwriting in different pens from different people were single-line entries. A date, a time, always around 2:40, and one word. Again. Des brought the notebook home. He couldn't sleep with it in the apartment. On the last night he worked there, the intercom at the night window clicked on by itself at 2:41. He had not pressed anything. A voice came through it, thin and far away, like it was speaking from the other end of a long pipe. It said, "Des, turn the lights on." He sat behind that register for an hour and 15 minutes with a voice on the intercom asking, politely, over and over, for him to turn on the lights at pump 6. It never got angry. It got tired. Toward the end, it started saying please. And Des went back through the archived tapes, not the live feed, the old ones. And what he found was this. The figure was there on nights the station had been closed for holidays. It was there on the night of a blizzard when the lot was under 16 inches of snow, standing on top of the snow. And on a tape from July of 1998, mislabeled and buried at the bottom of the box, there was a fire at pump 6, a car fully involved, and a person on the ground beside it who did not get up. At 3:56 a.m., Des walked to the breaker panel, peeled off the masking tape, and flipped the switch. He says the light came on. He says there was nobody at pump 6, He says the figure was standing directly behind him, inside the store, reflected in the window glass, close enough that it should have been touching him. He left the door open and the register unlocked and drove until the sun came up. He lives 3 states away now. He does not buy gas at night. Story 3. The 4th floor that isn't there. Mara ran overnight security at a distribution warehouse, midnight to 8. 9 checkpoints, badge in at each one, 4 full rounds a night. It was the most boring job she had ever had, and she liked it that way. The building had 3 floors. The elevator had 4 buttons. Day staff told her the 4th was a dead relay from a renovation that never happened. Ignore it. In her 2nd month, she pulled her own badge history and found something wrong. Checkpoint 7, 3rd floor, was logging an entry every night at 4:02 in the morning. She was never there at 4:02. Her route put her at the loading dock at that hour, 2 floors down. The badge number on the log was not hers. It belonged to an employee terminated 11 years earlier. Then she started hearing the pallet jack, that specific rattle and squeal rolling across concrete. Above her, on the 3rd floor, when she was already standing on the 3rd floor. On a Sunday, at 4:01, the elevator came down to meet her, doors already open, the 4th floor light glowing behind its plastic. She stepped in. The doors closed on their own. The car went up past 3, and it kept going. 9 seconds of travel in a building that takes 4. The doors opened onto her own warehouse. Same racks, same aisles, same forklift parked in the same corner. But every box on every shelf was blank. No labels, no barcodes. The lights were the wrong color, a dull amber instead of white. And at the far end of the aisle, a figure was standing, with its back to her, scanning inventory, holding a flashlight. Her flashlight, the one that was clipped to her belt. It looked up, and in her own voice, perfectly, it said her name. Mara hit the button. She does not remember which one. The doors closed, the car dropped, and when it opened, she was on the ground floor with her hand bleeding from gripping her keys. She quit the same morning. But before she left, she checked the log one more time. And there it was. Checkpoint 7, 4:02 a.m. Her badge. It still logs in every single night, including the nights she was never scheduled, including every night since she stopped working there. 3 people, 3 buildings, the same hour. Night shift workers will tell you that after long enough, you stop trusting empty rooms, because you learn that empty is just a word for something you can't see yet. Hope your shift stays quiet. Sleep well.